Hi there. Today we're going to work on literal equations. For this handout, you really have to have separate paper to work the problems out on. There just isn't room here. So why don't you pause the video for just a moment and get out some extra notebook paper or some grid paper to work on. I like to work on grid paper. It just helps my brain keep the information in nice straight columns. Okay, so let's look at problem number 1 together. So we have the equation P equals 2L. Make sure you know that's an L in your own handwriting, plus 2W. And we are told we are going to solve for W. All right. So this is very similar to the solving for y handout. The first thing I always do is draw a river down through my equal sign every time. And then I identify what am I solving for. I'm solving for w in this problem. So the processes are very, very similar to what we were doing when we solved for y. We just have to pay more attention this time as we don't know what we're going to solve for each time. So just like with solving for y, I have a term that is adding to this w term. So to get rid of it, I do the opposite, which is, subtracting. And what you do on one side, you do to the other. So my two L's cancel out. So what do I have left? A perimeter minus 2 L's equals 2 W's. And I think that makes more sense here because this is a perimeter and this is a length. How would you subtract them to make negative 2 LPs anyways? That doesn't even... You're not even old enough to know what an LP is. Ask your grandma about that. Anyway, okay, how do I get rid of the 2? Remember, a letter and a number side by side are multiplying. So to get rid of something multiplying, you divide. And every term gets divided by the 2. So on the left, we have a perimeter divided by 2 minus, hey, these 2's, what can they do? They can cancel out. Oops, you can't see that. There you go. So a perimeter divided by 2 minus a length equals, what do I have left on the far right? Just a width. The end. So the rules are basically the same. You've just got different letters to work with. It'll be okay. Let's look at problem number 2 together on your handout. So problem number 2. A equals 1/2 parentheses b little 1 plus b little 2, close your parentheses, h. And we are going to solve for b little 1. All right. This formula is the area of a trapezoid. Did you remember that? That's a throwback to, I don't know, 6th grade, 8th grade, somewhere in there. Okay, so we're solving for B1. That's what we are told to solve for. I need to get this alone. So let's start by figuring out what can I get rid of, because this is a mess. So something attached to parentheses like this H means that right now that is multiplying. The opposite of multiplying is still what? Dividing. So let's divide by h on both sides of your river. So the h's on the right cancel. And I now have the area divided by h equals 1/2 times base little 1 plus base little 2. Okay, well that's a little less threatening. Let's see, I'm still solving for base 1. Let's get rid of this 1/2. So when you have a fraction multiplying to a variable, a quantity, as we do here, you can get rid of it by using what's called the reciprocal. Do you remember that word, reciprocal? What does that mean, reciprocal? Yeah, it means flip it over. So we're going to multiply all of this times 1/2 flipped over. What is 1/2 flipped over? 2. You could say 2 over 1. Sure, why not? And what you do on one side of the river, yep, we do it on the other. So we are multiplying by this 2 over 1. And that causes the 2 and the 1/2 to cancel out. Nice. So 2 times the area is 2a. 1 times the height, that's just the height. What do I have left? Base 1 plus base 2. This is super not scary now. We're almost done. What are we solving for? Base 1, that's right. So I just need to get rid of base 2. So let's extend our river just a little bit to help keep the sides of our problem separate. So right now I'm adding base 2. How do you get rid of something that's adding? Subtract it. Minus base 2 minus base 2. On the right side, base 2 cancels out. On the left side, these are so many letters, I can't just subtract them and make one thing. That would be really strange. So let's just write them out in a straight line. 2 times the area divided by the height minus base 2 equals base 1. Done. That's it. It's over. Nice job. All right. Let's go look at problem number 3. Aren't you glad we're doing these together? Aren't you glad you got out a separate sheet of paper? Because you really don't have room on here. Problem number 3. V. What does V stand for in mathematics? Do you remember? Volume. Okay. So we have the volume of a cone is 1/3 the area of the base times the height. And we are solving for the height. All right. Here's the river. So, just like we did in number 2, if I'm solving for the height, let's get rid of the thing multiplying to it. Let's get rid of the base. So a letter and a letter side by side, what are they doing? Yep, multiplying. So let's divide, doing the opposite. So these bases on the right cancel out, leaving you with the volume over the area of the base equals 1/3, that's an ugly 1/3, sorry folks, times the height. All right, just like in number 2, how do I get rid of this 1/3? I'm going to multiply by, what was that R word? Yeah, the reciprocal. 3 over 1. What you do on one side? Yep, you do to the other. Okay, so the 1/3 and the 3 on the right side of the river cancel out, leaving you with 3 times the volume is 3V. 1 times the base is just the base, equals H. Hey, is that what we were solving for? Yeah, it sure is. That problem finished up really fast. And you were nervous. You didn't have anything to be nervous about. You can do this. Hey, I know. Let's go look at number 4 together. So number 4 says A is equal to 1/2 BH. Do you remember what that formula is for? That is for the area of a triangle. 1/2 of the base times the heights. Oh yeah, what are we solving for? We're going to solve for B. Okay, I have my river. I know what I'm solving for. So this is so much like number 3. I bet you could do this one. Why don't you pause the video and see if you can do it on your own. Did you divide by H on both sides of the river? Why did I do that? Because a letter and a letter side by side are multiplying. So what does that leave for me? Area divided by height equals 1/2 times the base. Did you do that on your own? I bet you did. All right, what did you do next? How did you get rid of the 1/2? You multiplied by the reciprocal? That's perfect. The reciprocal of 1/2 is 2 over 1. That's great. And you did it on both sides of the river? That's fabulous. So this 1/2 and this 2 over 1 canceled out. And you were left with, what did you have on the left side of the river? 2 times the area divided by 1 times the height equals your base. I hope you were able to do that entirely on your own. I bet you did a great job. All right, let's go do problem number 5 together. So go ahead and use lots of space to work out these problems on your paper. And you know I have more paper if you run out of paper. Because if you squish it all in there, I can't tell what it is, you can't tell what it is, and then what's the point? All it is frustrating for you and for me. Okay, problem number 5. This is the circumference of a circle. C equals 2 pi r. What does r stand for? Do you remember? Yep, that's the radius. Okay, we're solving for the symbol pi. So here, I've got 2 times pi times the radius. So things that are multiplying, how do you get rid of them? Yeah, you divide. And truthfully, since the 2 and the radius are both multiplying, I can divide them both out in one step. What does that leave me with? Like, not much, which is super. The circumference divided by 2r equals pi. You're done. That was it. That's all you had to do. So just because I have a symbol in there, that doesn't mean that you have to freak out. You can totally do this. All right, let's try that little trick again on number 6. So number 6, I have I equals PRT. Make sure that you know that is a T and not a plus sign. We are solving for T. Oh, you can't even see that. My bad. This is a throwback to 7th grade. So draw the river. What am I solving for? T. Okay, so I need to get rid of the P and the R. This is the interest equals the principal times the rate times time. So we said in number 5 that when I have multiple things just all multiplying together, more than one thing, they're all multiplying together in this one little problem, I can divide them all out in one shot. So let's do that again and make less work for you and for me. So we're dividing out the principal and the rate. The principal and the rate both cancel on the right side of the river. And you are now left with the interest divided by the principal and the rate equals the amount of time. Done. We solved. That wasn't even scary. All right, we're going to skip over number 7 and we're going to do number 8. You do not have to do number 7 today, so don't even worry about that. What did I just do? Let's do number 8. Don't even worry about number 7. I'm going to let your geometry teachers help you with that. Okay, so number 8, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We're solving for a. Do you remember this formula from the 8th grade? This is the Pythagorean theorem. Pythagoras, the guy who made that up, brilliant, amazing. All right, I'm solving for a. Hey, I have something adding to the a. We know how to get rid of those things. Let's subtract that over. Minus b squared. Don't be squared. Okay. So my b squareds on the left cancel out. And we're just going to write these out in a straight line. We don't know what c stands for or what b stands for right now. So this is the only weird thing about this problem, is that's a squared. How do I get rid of it? Well, the opposite of a square is a square root. So a becomes the square root of c squared minus b squared, because the square root and the square are going to cancel each other out. And this is my final answer. Pretty great. Pretty great. All right, let's do one more problem together. We're going to skip all the way down to problem number 18. So 18, v equals pi r squared h. And we are going to solve for r. All right, so this is the volume of a cylinder. That's what this is. I'm solving for the radius. So we saw in problem 5 and problem 6 that when I have terms multiplying all straight through, we can make one big dividing. So let's do that to get rid of the pi and the height. So the pi and the height on the right side of the river cancel out, leaving you with volume divided by pi times the height down there is equal to the radius squared. All right? And very, very similar to like what we just did in number 8, how do you get rid of a square? We said you would square root it. The square and the square root cancel each other out. So the square root of the volume divided by pi times height. So make sure all of that fits inside of your square root. You might need to make your square root a little taller. And that's what your radius is equal to, is the square root of the volume divided by pi times height. Okay, your job is to complete the rest of this handout. The only one you don't have to do is number 7 and number 12. I'll write that even down. Not number 7 or 12. Do the rest. And if you're stuck, come and ask me. For each one that I'm asking you to do, I already did some just like it in the ones that we worked out together. So if you need a little bit of help, I'll try to point you in the right direction. Have a great day.